have to choose the thoughts that match whatever you want to believe, and you have to keep thinking them over and over and over until they become the new neural
Yeah.
pathways in your brain and the new beliefs.
Isn't it great that we know scientifically that the brain is flexible? Hi, everyone. Welcome to Shine a Light. This is Christine Miles. It's my pleasure to have Happy Ali as my guest today. I want to hear about the name, but we'll hold on that thought for a second. So let me tell you a little bit about Happy. Happy, first of all, welcome. It's nice to have you here. Now I'll
Thank you so
brag
much.
about you. You're welcome with your little bit about your bio. You're a best-selling author, coach, and creator of Soul Tapping, a groundbreaking method that helps people discern which inner voices to trust and reconnect with, their soul's true guidance. Wow, that's quite interesting. He's also the author of the Intuition Bible and the Charisma Within, and the host of the Happy Insights podcast, where he bridges spirituality, psychology, and the human experience. Wow, that's a nice triangle. Through his subconscious manifestation method and live events, Happy helps people release limiting stories, awaken their intuition, and manifest from soul, not the struggle. So thank you for being here. It's a pleasure. I look forward to hearing more and learning more about how you're helping others. So
Thank you so much for having me on the show. I'm really excited for this conversation.
you're welcome. Yeah. So you clearly bring a lot of important things together because when
I
we're
hope so.
talking spirituality, psychology, and the human experience, these are not insignificant aspects of our lives. So why don't you take us back and tell us about you and how you got started way back to the beginning. Usually this starts pretty young, right?
Yeah, I'm 47 now, and I started my journey when I was 17. I had a near death experience, and that
Hmm.
caused a giant download of information that completely changed the trajectory of my life. And I literally went to sleep one person and woke up someone completely new with
Wow.
more knowledge than I could possibly absorb at that moment. And it took me years to get the volumes of information out, but all I knew was I knew the secret to happiness, and that's where my name came from. Because all of a sudden I went from this person who wasn't necessarily happy all the time to someone who was just ecstatic to be alive. And
After this near death experience,
yeah, it
do you
was
mind sharing what
basically
happened?
well, it's too long of a story. Well, I was supposed to die, and then somebody intervened, and I did not. But I went to sleep as if I thinking that I was gonna die, and I
Hmm.
think because of that, I released all the resistance and all the baggage, and my brain just went blank, and it tapped into some higher consciousness.
Huh.
And what happened was when your vibration raises high, and then the information of the world, of the universe is all up here, and you connect. When you come back, if you're lucky, you get to bring all that information with you. But I didn't know what happened. I knew about reincarnation. I knew about the
Hmm.
world being more energy. I understood that we were here voluntarily to live this amazing life, and happiness was a perspective to hold, and a choice to have, and how your energy is what causes things to come to you. Basically, you're the one who's creating your own life. And I didn't really have the terminology for it. I just knew everything, and I started writing this stuff down
When you were
because I don't want to
17.
yeah, I wrote
Wow.
like so much, and now I still see like exactly what I wrote in people's teachings.
Hmm.
And it took me a while to really believe that it was like, not because people told me I was crazy. And then later as I, my parents, everyone said, go, you're delusional, go and get a real job. So,
Hmm.
and don't help, you don't need to be helping the world. You're young. And of course I was. And
Sure.
then I became a makeup artist for a very long time until I had my first son. And I'm a prophetic dreamer, so I get to dream stuff in advance. It's kind of
Yeah.
my superpower.
Okay.
And I got
Was
to
this
I was
prior to even the near death
I
experience?
yeah, I mean, back it didn't kick in until I was in my 20s,
Okay.
but my whole family on my mom's side has it because we kind of foster that language, and that
Okay.
there is a world out there.
You weren't
And I got
crazy
to
to do that. That wasn't crazy. That was more part of your. No, seriously, like I get it. Like people try to talk you out of things that understandably because it doesn't make sense. They haven't experienced it. But this was something inside your family that was more normalized, right?
Yeah, and we talked about it. We give our dreams just as much airtime as we
Hmm.
do our waking time. And so if you remember it, we talk about it.
Yeah.
And then there's this competition of who dreamt whose death first, or who dreamt whose
Uh,
death birth
Interesting.
first. And like there is this thing where like we have a funeral or something, and then everyone's last time, I think it was during COVID, my uncle died. And I'm not smiling because I really think of death as a
We're not judging
beautiful
you.
thing. I think death is a beautiful part of life. And I remember there was 17 of us on a WhatsApp call, all
Huh.
comparing notes on who dreamt it first.
Huh.
But but mine has a 2-month marker. Actually, it's gotten shorter now. But I dreamt having a son because um wasn't with anyone, or wasn't planning
Hmm.
on having a kid. So I dreamt having a kid with my best friend who was a lesbian, and then it all came to fruition. And then unfortunately, I dreamt of two people dying about 4 years later, 5 years later, and it was my son and my best friend who died. And that was one of those things that I think was the universe's true test to see if my name was truly
Wow. So let
happy.
me just make sure I get you. So this was a dream you had that came true. That
All my dreams, yeah, all the big
you
ones come
lost your
true.
son and your best
Yeah, so
friend.
I had my son because of a dream.
Wow.
I lost him with a warning of dreams, which I think they're amazing because it was an accident. So
Mm,
knowing 2 months in advance that something was going to happen, or having the premonition, really helped me know that it was not
process
an
it.
accident. It was just the way that
Interesting.
things were. And then he communicated with me right after and told me I was going to have more kids. And I was like,
Mm,
Having more kids?" And then I guess what? I ended up with two more kids on my
wow.
own, who are 8 now.
And how old
But
was your son when he died?
he 4.5.
Wow.
And but the whole thing is that my name, my theory, my
Yeah.
teachings, everything was tested for me.
Yeah.
And I feel like after that, I became somebody who I was already in school for at UCLA at that time, and for psychology, and I already had like almost 20 years of metaphysical studies and experiences. But I really feel like after that was when I became the teacher that I was meant to be.
Hmm.
Because when life really destroys you and you have to decide who you want to be, you that's when you're refined as a
Yeah.
human.
If you decide, right? If you
It's
decide.
always a decision.
Yeah. A conscious decision or an unconscious one, right?
Yeah, it's got to be a conscious decision, to be honest with you, because life happens to us. And if we don't understand how important this world is in our experience, and because everyone gets stuck in this world in a way that we feel like we're trapped in this body for so long, and then we're kind of have to finish this life, and it feels like a chore because we haven't mastered the art of manifesting. We haven't mastered the
Mm,
art of understanding how our brain's programming work. We haven't mastered the art of tapping into our inner wisdom, where like basically the same amount of information that I had access to, everyone has
yeah.
access to.
Yeah. It's
And we haven't.
awakening that, right?
Yeah, you got to master every aspect. So I do mind, body, and soul. You got to figure them all
Mm,
out.
hmm.
If you've figured out that trinity, then your life becomes easy. I mean, I have clients who literally didn't have a job for 3 years, and their life was falling apart, and we worked together just for a little bit, and then all of a sudden everything clicks, and they don't understand what happened. They always say, "Is it luck?" And I'm like, well, it just happens to
Mm-hmm.
happen right when you start working on those
Yeah.
aspects.
Bringing that to the forefront. Yeah.
Hmm.
So yeah, well, certainly nobody can accuse you with that, that kind of a loss of not, you know, believing and making sure that works, right? So that's interesting that that became the moment that you were really became a teacher. You said something when you started. You said we're not we're here by choice. So what did you mean by that? So take us into that. That's the metaphysical. Is that where we are when we're talking about that?
Definitely, the soul really volunteers and chooses and really wants to be here because there is a huge benefit for the soul to be on this planet. The soul has two basic objectives. One is to transform and become
Hmm.
more, and to expand itself and the universe along with it. And the other one is because we do live multiple lives, and I believe it's here to experience life from every perspective, which some people might call that karma,
Yeah.
that you're supposed to experience what you do to others, but you're
Huh.
really here to discover unconditional love on a world in a world where it's conditional. Love is conditional.
Yes, it is.
And because of it, you put yourself in these situations where as a soul, it makes sense. Oh, I want to be poor. I want to be uncomfortable. I want to have those particular parents that are going to cause all these issues for me because that's the experience I want to have. But as a human, once we're
It's
here,
painful.
it just feels like why? Why are
Yeah.
we here?
What's
Why are
the
we going through
point?
this? Yeah,
Yeah.
what's the point? Why am I this person? Why do I look like this? Why are my parents like this? Why was I born in
Mm,
this country? All of this stuff, but it's all very deliberately chosen in advance by the soul.
hmm.
And I believe that wholeheartedly.
Yeah, it's so how do you so for somebody who's very black and white, logical, less apt to go into this kind of thinking and hasn't had a life-altering experience or near-death experience like you have to awaken this even further. Obviously you had some of this, but so how what do you say to that skeptical person that says, "You know what? This doesn't sound right to me."
I say, live the way you want to live if it makes you happy. The whole thing is, I'm never here to talk someone into something.
Yeah.
I say the secret that everything that I'm teaching is so you're successful and happy.
Mhm.
So if whatever you're doing and whatever you're believing isn't hurting anyone else and it's making you happy and making you comfortable in this world and you're actually getting the things in your life that you want and you're
Yeah.
truly happy on the inside, then why even listen to anything? As
Mhm.
just be yourself. That's the whole point of it. Be as authentic as you can. And if something within my words resonate with you, that's when you want to listen.
Okay.
Because unless and but usually, we life so many things happen to so many people and so many tragedies happen that I've noticed like most people that are skeptics, eventually something happens and they
The
they
universe tells
start
them,
opening
doesn't
up.
it?
They open up. And
Yeah.
it's like, for example, I teach something called soul tapping, which is
Yeah, let's talk about
learning
that.
less. It's all about like learning which voices in your head to trust. Because I
Mm,
believe there's voices that the soul created a body that was completely the opposite of its nature. Soul is unconditional, the body is conditional.
mm,
The soul knows its potential and can create out of nothing. The body and the memory and the mind, what I call the human intelligence,
yep.
uh, only can see what it's experienced and can only predict what it already knows.
The literal,
So
right?
it's very opposing when it comes to it's the way that it thinks. It also is the human mind is very uh, much of an individual because you have to have your personality for being Christine, and I have
Yeah.
to have happy, but the soul knows we're all one. So it's really important to put those particular perspectives into perspective, which means that I want to trust the part of me that knows the most, which is my soul. And
Hmm.
I teach people t- how it feels when the soul talks and what it sounds like. And that's what I call soul tapping, and what it feels like when the body talks. And the body and the mind are two different things, although they're one. The
Sure.
mind is more of a predictor and it works with the programming that you've given it since you were born. And it's more like the warrior, the thing that does all the worry, the good stuff, the bad stuff, all this stuff, but it's all very predictable. And the body is based purely on instinct. So
Hmm.
it's your fight and flight. So it's the one that tells you not to take risks and to stay put. And so
Play it
there's
safe.
play it safe. So I always tell people the body interprets where the information is coming from. So if a voice in your head is making you feel expanded and open and excited, that's usually the soul talking.
Hmm.
If something is even if it's positive and it's very egotistical, where it's saying that, oh, you're better than everyone else, or whether it's whatever it is, if it's more individualized and it's
Yeah.
making you feel smaller, uh, and usually people that compare themselves to others, even if they think they're better, they're feeling small.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
or if it's full of like, I can't do this, I've never done this before. In your body, you'll be more contracted. And then the instincts is you fight, flight, or freeze. You either are frozen and procrastinating, or
Yeah.
you're want to run and want to punch something. So you let people use their own body and their emotions as a guide to know voice
It's
is
almost
talking.
like I'm putting it like in a physical form. Like you have 3 friends and you can predict you're gonna get no, yes, don't, right? Whatever, that you're learning who to listen to in that friend network. That's
And
just friends within, right?
yes, and one of your friends is maybe a ancient, like your genetic, your DNA, your fight or flight, which is always in the worry section. Your
Yeah.
one friend that always worries. There's one friend that I call the 5-year-old or the fifth grader, which is the mind, which does knows stuff. It knows enough to navigate, but it doesn't really know the world. And the other one is a wise sage.
Mm,
So it's important to know who's talking and also
yeah.
put them in their place. Like you're not going to listen to a fifth grader the same way that you're going to listen to this wise teacher that's been
Sure.
teaching it for an
Yeah.
eternity.
Yeah.
So when you know the difference, and if you can be self-aware enough, because
Yeah.
self-awareness is key, then you can say, okay, this voice, like yesterday, I was having a moment because we all have moments, and I said, "Who's talking?"
Mm.
And I said,
To
"Oh,
yourself, you
it's
said that.
mhm, of course." And I
Okay.
called, like, sometimes we have trauma stored all over our body, and I call the trauma coals, like, as in, like, actual dark coals in your body. So when I call that cold tapping when the trauma's talking. So I always say, "Am I cold tapping or soul tapping?" So yesterday I was
Mm,
having a moment. I was having a big moment. One of those things where I feel like an absolute failure for my as a parent because my kids don't have the 2 classes that I want. It's so some
mm.
so dumb stuff.
Sure. But
Like,
the
why
things
don't
we
why
tell ourselves,
yeah.
right?
I'm like, "Why aren't they more advanced in piano right now?" Because, like, I didn't get him a teacher, I forgot, and or we didn't get in time or whatever it was. And I was having this moment and I thought, "Okay, am I cold tapping or soul tapping? And does this really matter in the big picture?" And I asked my soul, I said, "Let me say some statements, make some statements, and see which ones feel like they're from my soul and which ones feel like they're from my coals or body or mind."
Mm,
And I said a couple of statements, and then as soon as I felt the release and the relief that some of the statements gave me, I was like, "Oh, you're the one I'm supposed to be listening to,
mm. You could
because I
feel it.
you're not guiding me out of fear or through fear. You're guiding me through love and understanding, and that everything is okay, and that your children are here on their own journey. They're your responsibility to keep alive and healthy and emotionally
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
but you're not. I'm not here to design their entire life.
Yeah. And make
They
everything happen.
they have
Yeah.
their own souls that they can rely on. I had just
So what you're saying, what comes to my mind is that for you said things like you have to listen to yourself. Self-awareness is key. These are fairly, obvious things and not so obvious things to a lot of us. So I think, do you call this a skill? Do you call this what do you call this in
it's
terms of
it's
this
it's
ability?
it's
Is it a
technique and
habit?
practice.
Is it a
Uh,
habit?
It has to become well, first you learn the techniques
Okay.
because that's just one technique out of
Sure.
I mean, I wrote a book called The Intuition Bible that has like 20 techniques in it,
Huh.
on how to listen to your inner voices. First, you gotta learn which technique works for you.
Okay.
Then you have to keep reminding yourself over and over and over until the programming changes.
Yeah.
Because your brain has been programmed since you were a kid, and that's where the
Yeah.
subconscious manifestation comes in, and the universe is responding to whatever you're believing, and your brain is also it has this thing called the RAS, which is the reticular activating system. It cherry
Mm.
picks information that matches your beliefs, and it deletes everything else. It deletes about 11 million bits of data per second.
And
uh,
legitimately,
yeah,
this is the
and
number.
this is
Wow.
number 11 million,
Wow.
and it saves about 50.
So this is why people say, I'm too fat. I saw a friend from high school, homecoming court, beautiful, still gorgeous. She's like, I've been trying to lose the same 5 pounds my entire life, and I was like, how true is that? That we fixate on these things that we think are so important. She was very funny. True.
Well, and the thing is, she won't lose the 5 pounds because in her mind, she has to lose the 5 pounds. So,
Yeah.
what her brain will cherry pick will be, let's say there's a bunch of food in front of her and there's a bunch of people that have ideas for different exercises, whatever.
Yeah.
Your brain will attract you and take the things that will make sure that they would perpetuate
Yeah.
your
It's a
sense,
self
whatever
fulfilling
you believe,
prophecy. Yeah.
and it will pick those things out and you won't even see it. It's kind of like when you just buy a red car and all of a sudden all you see are the red cars on the
Yeah.
road. It's
Yeah.
because your brain is cherry picking it. And this
Yeah.
is real science. So for those skeptics, you got to know everything you do is a self-fulfilling prophecy. And but when you're aware of it, then you can choose what to believe, and you have to choose the thoughts that match whatever you want to believe, and you have to keep thinking them over and over and over until they become the new neural
Yeah.
pathways in your brain and the new beliefs, and
What
then
a
your mind would cherry pick the other stuff.
Isn't it great that we know scientifically that the brain is flexible? That
Oh,
we
so
know the brain is flexible. For so long we didn't know. I mean, we live in a time when we actually know the brain is flexible. And that's kind of new stuff relatively speaking. I mean, you're the expert here. I know enough to be dangerous. That's not to be fully knowledgeable. Yeah.
no, it is true. The brain is plastic. That's what
It's like 30
the
years
term for
old
it
that
is.
we know this, right? Like maybe 30 years we've known this.
And you can develop new neural pathways, and for example, if you're losing your memory, even you can work on a new neural pathway
Yeah.
to build memory. And people thought, once you lose a brain cell, it's gone, and no, you grow new stuff. And the it's beautiful when you uh, do new things
Yeah.
as an adult. Like you create new habits, you learn new instruments, you start, people that do the crossword puzzle, things that are very uniquely new to their brain, because you're constantly adding new neural pathways.
Which is why they
And
say puzzles and like paddle sports, pickleball's like not just for pickleball, it's actually for your brain because you're patterning it, right?
yeah, you're building new stuff. And the
Yeah.
more the and when you stop to build new things, listen to new music. Listen, when people are listening to the old stuff they'd always listen to, when
Yeah.
they're just really reliving the past,
Yeah.
using their past as their glory days, they
Yeah.
begin to age. The aging process
Hmm.
happens very quickly, and I know this because I am almost
You're
50.
14. You're 14.
I
Just
am
kidding.
literally almost 50, and
Wow.
I only hang out with people that are probably 30, 31. Not because I want to hang out with people who are much younger than me. It's only because I feel like I'm always at my prime.
Yeah, that's who you attract.
And
Isn't Do you think that's true when you're younger and you hang out with older people? Like there's something Go on. Yeah.
you want to know that one?
I
Okay.
do.
So
Am
I
I onto
believe that
something here? Yeah.
you're definitely onto something, because the soul is always at its prime.
Mm,
So the soul is infinite, eternal. It's always at its peak, right? So it's intelligent and knows what it's doing. And you are your soul at the
yeah.
heart of it. When you look in the mirror, if you look in deep, the person who's looking into the mirror is the soul.
Yeah.
So because you're at your peak, let's give a human number. Actually, my son gave me a human number after he died, because he died when he was 4, and he showed up in my dream and said, "Daddy, I'm going to be 34 from now on if you want to see me in my dreams," because
Mm,
that's how my soul. That's how you can really imagine what my soul's is, because
is to him.
I was
4-year-old
trapped in a
body.
small body, yeah. And so when you're younger, you're in your heart, you're at your peak, so you're always going to feel older.
Yeah.
You're gonna be like, I am older. And then as soon as you pass that peak, physical peak, you're still that same old peak
Yeah.
out soul. And then so
Yeah,
you're
that
always
makes
gonna feel
sense.
younger,
Well, yeah.
unless you listen to your cold tapping, and you listen to your human
Hmm.
body, the mind software, but the human software.
And then
If you
it'll
listen to that,
mm,
if that becomes your predominant thought, you will never feel younger. You'll feel older and older and ancient
yeah.
and more ancient, because now that becomes your dominant perspective. But
Yeah.
if you continue to tap into the soul, and the kids always tap into soul. That's their job.
Hmm.
They cry and then they find themselves back to being joyful. That's
Yeah.
why they're always soul
Oh, that's
tapping.
so interesting. Yeah. It's still, I read a book many years ago that this a version of this. It's called The Gift of Fear by Gavin DeBecker. I don't know if you've ever read the book, and
I
like
haven't read it.
going back, but he talks about the gift of fear being that when you're afraid of everything, you're afraid of really nothing. And that most kidnappings, bad things that happen are by people that we know, not random strangers, because it's just, and that, when you learn to listen to that gift that your body gives you, that little spidey senses, that little, then you tune in, you actually keep yourself safer in the world. And it's part of that intuition, but we're used to refuting it. so much. And talking, especially women are trained to be polite and different things, and we're trained to talk ourselves out of this in a way. The world does that to us rather than to say, no, 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 listen to that. And so to me, this is just a whole nother level of that, is that there's so much going on inside of us and what we know that we just don't listen to, right? Don't tap into, don't
And
nurture.
it's very true, and there is a reason for that. And because people say, "Oh, the society talked me out of listening to my intuition." Because when I wrote the Intuition Bible, it was all I was teaching about was different ways to tap into your inner wisdom.
Yeah.
And people kept saying, "Oh, so who talked us out of it and why?" And I always let people know it was by design
Mm,
because we do need to have our five senses be our loudest senses so that we don't fall into a ditch or we do stay
okay.
away from danger.
Okay.
So unless we learn to quiet the mind or actively change the way that we listen to ourselves, the five senses are always going to win.
Because
And
we'd be in peril too much. We take too many risks. Oh, I can step on the side. I went to the Grand Canyon and went, "Where's the fence?" By the way, I was like, "What are people doing?" So
that's so
there's
funny.
your five senses in action. Yeah,
Yeah, because it wants you to live, and
yeah,
ironically, like, people are especially fear-based people are so afraid of the world, and
yeah.
when you're afraid of stuff all the time, you actually direct yourself toward danger.
What you fear, you create. Absolutely, that's absolutely no question about it in my mind. It's
And
yeah,
yeah, and energy flows where attention goes, or I don't know if it's
yeah.
vice versa, but your intention, I mean, I have people sending me so many reels about what's going on in this world that's so wrong, and they're sick and they catch a cold and there's always something wrong with them. I'm like, you're lowering your immune system.
Yeah,
You're also lowering your ability to have your spidey senses work
yeah. You dull
because
it, right?
y-
This is why I don't like all these murder shows, these CSIs, these it's a lot of darkness to bring into the world, isn't it? Into your own life and world.
especially if you're having an emotional reaction to it.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
like, some people love horror movies because they love it so much, and they just love it, and they're not going into it just wanting fear, they want the thrill of it, and nothing bad happens to them. It's when
I
people
see.
literally watch the news or something that just shakes their themselves at the core, and you're having a negative reaction to it, your negative reaction or your worry is already your soul telling you or your body
Mm,
telling you that you're vibrating on a really low frequency and you're going to attract everything that's on a low frequency.
mm,
And because the universe is designed to the frequencies that are on the same wavelength attract each other. That's why when you broadcast 98.7 on FM, you're going to if you
interesting.
tune into 98.7 FM, you're going to pick it up. So
Interesting.
if you're predominantly fear-based or
Yeah,
worried or think that someone's out to get you, that is your frequency. So
yeah.
the universe and your RAS, so it's not just your brain, it's also the universe wants you to be correct because it wants you to feel like you're right. So it says, "All right, I'm going to send that rapist after you
Mhm.
because you're going to be the most attractive thing to that person, and you're going to find that person attractive just so you can match up, and the universe can have this horrible." I'm not saying that people that get
Uh,
raped are attracting this,
well,
by the way.
but let me just interrupt you for a second to tell you something, because I do want to make that distinction, because I've shared with my listeners before that I was in a car accident when I was 28, and one could argue that, yeah, divine things happen because that's part of what needed to happen. It's very hard as a victim to feel like you don't want to feel like it's your
You
fault.
did it.
But
Mhm.
I was a young therapist, and when I was in grad school getting my master's in psychology, I worked at an outpatient rehab, and there was a woman there who had been raped on two occasions, and not by a family member. It wasn't an incest; it was random rapes. And she talked as a speaker, and I was pretty impressionable. I was in my early 20s, and she said, "I'm not going to say this was my fault, but I had to look at what am I sending out in the world, that this random act happened to me two times." And I thought it's very much along the lines of what you're saying, is how are we showing up in the world, and what are we drawing towards us, right? Yeah,
It's really important. I mean, you either there's only 2 ways to look at life. Either things are at random
yeah.
or everything's happened for a reason. You can't have both beliefs at the same time.
Hmm.
And if you do believe that everything happens for a reason, find out what the lesson is in it for you, why you had to experience it, what you have to get out of it. What did I mean, anything. And I'm talking about somebody who I'm as someone who lost his son,
Absolutely. Yeah, you're
or
speaking from
when
experience. Yeah.
yeah, so I had to really say, what was this? Why did I have to coexist with that event?
Yeah.
And because it wasn't that was gonna happen, but why would it have to be my son?
Yeah.
Why does it I mean, there's so many accidents that happen, so many people that die, but and if you really truly want to not live a victim mentality, you have to become the master, not the slave. Because when you're a victim mentality, you are a slave of the universe,
Yeah.
and whatever is going to happen to you will happen to you. You have no control over it. But when you become the master and you decide to be the cause of your life, and you say, "What did I get out of this?
Yeah.
What good thing came out of this? What am I learning? Am I learning? Should I go learn self defense? Should I? What should I do out of this? What is this inspiring me to do?" And also that then you become the master of your life. And even if it's there is no even if I'm wrong,
Well,
and
that's what
think
I was thinking, Happy, is even if you're wrong and none of this extra stuff exists, that just helps navigate life anyway. Because if you can reframe and say to yourself, what am I learning from this terrible loss, terrible experience, my ex? What can I make of it rather than have it make it? Then your life's better anyway. So, you know, it's like you don't have to believe in Christmas, but you can enjoy the presents, right? It's like, yeah.
I it's just like, well, that's how I mean, unless you're a parent, then you can enjoy your wallet emptying. I'm just kidding.
It's
Um,
very inspiring what you're saying. And
Thank you.
I think it's well, first of all, let before we have to sign off, I want to make sure people there's a lot of wisdom that you share, but talk to us about how people work with you. Let's talk about how that could look because I don't think this is a journey that everybody can go on by themselves. I think there's they need help. We all need help. Yeah.
I think any journey that we embark on, doesn't matter what it is. If it's not something you've been doing already,
Yeah.
having a facilitator or somebody to help you with for the beginnings for a certain amount of time
Yeah.
is extremely important, because they'll keep you in check and
Yeah.
keep you accountable.
Yeah.
But what usually there's three different ways people work with me. One is do hypnotherapy. Some people just like one off. They want to
Yeah.
learn how to tap into your inner wisdom, and they
Okay.
want some questions answered. And I do something called inner self activation, where I take them and their higher self or inner self will give them answers. And usually it's very profound. But most people, I find, they like working. I work 12 weeks with somebody, and it's one
Okay.
hour, and then they get a video module to watch, so we don't
Okay.
waste any time together. Then usually wherever they are in their life, I take them to a whole new place of their choice
Hmm.
by the end of the 12 weeks, with enough practice that it's been proven that 12 weeks is the magical number for somebody to be able to really work with their self-sabotage, work with
Yeah.
their beliefs, see
Yeah.
what's going wrong, and enough for them to see visible results and shifts in their brain. And I had, like, sometimes I get clients, like the last client that signed on with me, she had lost her house in the
Hmm.
fires. She hadn't had a job in 3 years, because she was in entertainment industry. She had all these beliefs about herself and the world, and how she was basically cursed, and how she was too old and it was not gonna work out anymore. Things were just it was all this stuff. And she was so depressed. The only thing she said was, "I don't wanna kill myself, and I just need someone now." And I said, "Okay, let's do this." And she was like, "You think it's gonna work?" And then now within 5 weeks, she got a new job, and
Wow.
now she's calling me with texting me with these wisdoms of how she's just as she sees the world in such a new way, and she's so optimistic, and she keeps wanting to thank me. And I'm like, "Don't thank me, like, thank yourself.
Hmm.
You're doing all the work. I just held your hand. That's all I
But
did."
holding your hand and providing that guidance is a gift. Now you have to be open to receiving that gift and investing in that gift and investing in yourself. But I can imagine having that guidance. Just for people listen, I was an athlete. I'm a coach myself, an executive coach. We work with organizations, but I love being coached. This to me is what this is. I was in this accident. I didn't play tennis most of my life, and I decided to go to tennis camp this year. And what I realized is like that bakes in for a while. Like I was reminded of that you do 12 weeks, but 12 weeks bakes in over that year. It's like my mom used to say, like, the only thing she learned from the cooking shows is you got to let the meat rest. When that rests in there and you practice those habits, it takes to a whole nother form down the road. Yeah. So
Absolutely. And I really tell my clients, I said, when your life is good, still let's do like once a month sessions, just
well,
as
so
a
that's what I
check-in.
want. That's what I wanted to ask. You have two questions. So, because of the therapist. So, one is, what if people are decent at this? They're optimistic. They're good at reframing. Do you help them as well, or is it only people who are at the bottom and not feeling like,
No, so we're onions, and we need to peel new layers. So the
okay,
second that you think that you're at a place where this
I
is
got
it,
this? Yeah.
that means you don't got this.
Okay.
It usually means, I mean, I have a therapist. I go to a therapist, but sometimes
Yeah.
I tell my therapist I don't want to see you for another 3 weeks because I feel like I was teaching you more stuff.
Yeah.
This, sometimes it's
Sure.
necessary, sometimes it's not.
Yeah.
But if here's the thing, I'm gonna finish this off with this because it's so important. You're here to transform and become more every single moment of your life.
Mm.
When you don't, and when you start coasting, because life is good, something will happen to make you
Oh
grow.
yeah. To wake you up. Yeah.
Always, because the second you start plateauing as a
Yeah.
soul and not evolving, the soul says, "Are you either gonna die? Because
Mm.
I'm not gonna invest in you anymore, because it's investing its attention and it's streaming through your body." So it says you're either gonna die or you're gonna have something happen that you're gonna have to grow.
Yeah.
Or I'm gonna bring someone in your life that's gonna trigger the heck out of you. Because if there's any more triggers left in you,
We'll
because
find
and
them.
we're gonna find them, because
Yeah.
I didn't come here to waste my time. But
Yeah.
a lot of times when you work with people continuously to see where am I at, what am I doing, and meditation is just as good as sometime when you're really doing well, because you do that with yourself, your
Yeah,
own
you've
coach.
learned to coach yourself, sure.
But
Yeah.
still, I still find it like, for me, I need to have a coach on pretty much. I have a coach for everything, because
I'm with you. It just it
I
just makes it better.
plateau.
Yeah. So what
I
about, like, let me ask you this. What about I'm going to go into the psychology world here. What about neurodivergent people? What about alcoholics, drug addicts, narcissistic personality? Like, how do you is that a, can you help people in those more extreme areas?
When it comes to anything that's super diagnosed, I think people need to go to a professional and someone who's exclusively working in that particular um, genre field,
Yeah.
because you don't want to go to someone who is a spiritual. I mean, I will, if you're working on your
Other
issue as a
stuff. Yeah.
narcissist, I can help you navigate the world as well. And then
Mm,
the techniques that you learn and the things that you learn from your therapist or your psychologist or
yeah.
psychiatrist. I mean, ideally, I like to get people off pills and
Yeah.
work with them, but I don't want to replace their
It's an
someone's
additive. It's an
you know
and. Yeah. That makes sense.
for me, if it's you want to live your best life, you want to listen to your inner self, you want to know which voices to prioritize, you want to learn how to reprogram your brain, you want to learn about manifestation and how to make things happen. That's who you come to. And then
Mm,
if you really have, if you have OCD, you have like a real true OCD, not the one that everyone
yeah.
thinks that they have. And you have ADHD, real true ADHD, not the
Yeah.
one
Not
that
the one that, yeah.
everyone thinks that everyone has,
Yeah.
or whatever it is. I suggest go to a doctor, someone who, or a professional who specializes in that. But like I'm more of like a holistic, let's say
Yeah.
as a real doctor, like a
Yeah.
physical
Yeah.
doctor. I'm more of the holistic doctor, and somebody might need heart surgery,
Yeah.
and I said, go
It's
find a
not a
heart surgeon.
replacement.
Ever.
Yeah, yeah. So how can people I appreciate that, because I think, again, what keeps people stuck is what I go to. And so some of those diagnoses can make people feel stuck, and that because we know the brain's flexible. So just distinguishing how you can best help, and who you can best help. So there's from optimistic to feeling like, you got nothing. There's a way to kind of rise to a different level and to rewire the brain. So how can people find you?
Well, they can go to happyinsights.net, and I'm
Plural, happy
uh,
insights.
insights, yes, all
Mhm.
of Happy's insights.
Ah, nice.
And they can, even book a discovery session with me, which costs money. I don't like, I they used to be free, but they're not. but
Okay.
it's half off the regular sessions.
Okay.
And then we find out what their problem is, if we can actually work together, if they like me, if they even like my personality or how I teach, because I'm very blunt and direct. And some people love that, some people hate it.
Yeah.
So you kind of see if you're a good fit, and then if they want to sign up for a program, they can, or if they just want a free hypnotherapy audio thing, they just put their name in and they get
Okay.
it. Or if they want an online course that doesn't even involve that, and they just don't want to spend that much money, I have my subconscious manifestation course, or you just go onto my website and figure out what's best for you. But generally, people like to talk to me in person,
Yeah.
so they book a discovery session that we talk. It's not even a discovery session because it's a full session; it's a real session.
And so you're
Um,
jumping in right away, but you're
I
giving.
jump in right away
Yeah.
because I don't like it when people, especially coaches, like I talk to them and it's a sales call,
Yeah.
and it's like a 20-minute sales call. I'm like, no, 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 no. We're gonna do this right, and you're gonna pay me, but you'll pay me half price,
And
and
you'll see the work. You'll see the
I'm gonna
work.
see you're gonna see by the end of this conversation how much you've shifted,
Mm.
and then you could see, do I want to invest in 12 more weeks of this or 11 more weeks of this? Because I think it's really important to give people my all, always,
You're letting people drive the car too, as I like to say, right?
always.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
sharing your wisdom, your story, remarkable story, and how, where there's different aspects to the world that and ourselves that we can tap into. It's really, really fascinating and based in science. This is right.
Based on science, some is based in science, some is based on spiritual, metaphysical stuff.
Sure. And some
Um,
in psychology, the triangulation of it all, right?
I love it all. I think that if you don't have a balance in this world, then you're messing up.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate the wisdom. Thank you for being on Shine a Light, and we'll see you next time. Thank you, Happy.
Thank you.